Several Texas counties are getting ready to declare an invasion at the southern border, hoping to trigger part of the U.S. Constitution that makes the federal government responsible for protecting states against invasions. This comes as the United Nations just labeled the U.S.-Mexican border as the deadliest crossing in the entire world, after 53 migrants were found dead last week in a tractor trailer in San Antonio, Texas. And as the border crisis only worsens, the Biden administration doesn't seem to be taking any responsibility for it, instead blaming a host of other things, including climate change. Watch.
The migration that is occurring throughout the hemisphere is reflective of the economic downturn, increase in violence throughout the region, the result of the COVID-19 pandemic, the results of climate change.
David, the bottom line is these local and state governments, they feel abandoned by the federal government. Val Verde County Commissioner Robert Nettleton, he said at the end of the day, the federal government is not doing its job and these local communities need to come up with a solution.
But what gets me more than anything else is the inhumanity of the whole thing. Of course, mentioned the 53 people that were killed. Imagine opening a trailer truck and seeing 53 dead bodies. You know, the Trump administration was criticized by Biden for being inhumane, for having an inhumane border crossing. If you get the designation of being the #1 dangerous, lethal border crossing in the world, 1,238 migration deaths in 2021. I know that's just a number, and statistics are horrible in the way they dehumanize.
Those are human beings.
But the inhumanity of this policy far exceeds any inhumanity from previous administrations. I mean, it has a record just in terms of pure numbers of people who are suffering and dying as a result of these policies.
That's right, Harris, and these are people, 1.7 million encounters. I know, as you say, statistics are hard for us to appreciate, but each one is a life with a family and a story. And where's our vice president, who's the czar of the southern border? Where is any type of actual compassion from the government that claims their policies are compassionate?
Well, and I was just going to say, when you talk with people in Congress who've gone down, your husband has gone down, Sean Duffy has, as a congressperson. When you talk to Andy Biggs of Arizona, when you talk to the attorneys general from these different border states, and even far beyond, because fentanyl makes us all a border state now, so it's been said, so it is true. But when you talk with those people, you get the humanity, because they will tell you of the little ones that are being pulled out of the water of the Rio Grande, inches from a life taken. I mean, they're actually there, which is why you need the bully pulpit of the president and the border czar. Are we even still calling her that? I mean, I feel like I'm lying. It's not actually true. But I mean, if you put their bully pulpit there, and they're great storytellers, they'd have to be, right? Because they all gave speeches. So if they could shine a light on this and see for themselves, maybe they could find some answers. But, you know, I guess if you don't see it, you don't have to do anything about it.
Right. And we've talked about that, the abject failure on the part of this administration to acknowledge the catastrophe at the southern border, the cruelty of their policies, and yet they've been tasked with securing it. Instead, Kamala Harris says, well, I'm going to focus on climate change and root causes. So her title feels false, but it's still her title.
Yeah, I mean, listen, the humanity, the lack of compassion, you're so right, David. They said that their policies were compassionate. Those people were cooked alive. And by the way, those numbers don't actually say what happens to, there's many people who die in the desert that we never hear of. There are children who are being sex trafficked. Right. We don't know anything about that. People. Thousands. And so this is a lack of compassion. I look at Joe Biden and I say, you know, we were talking about chivalry in the break with your little 1.5-year-old. Talk about lack of chivalry you're the father of the country as the president. You have no care for not just the migrants, but the people that you represent on those border states who feel so abandoned that they say, we're being invaded, and you don't care.
That's right. And Kaylee, let's go back to that UN report. You have some additional information about that.
Yeah, the author of the report said that the number of deaths at the border is worse than any prior year, even pre-COVID. Okay, so that means the 2021 numbers are worse than any prior year. Well, what happened in 2021? this guy named President Joe Biden took over and rolled back every single Trump policy. This didn't happen in a vacuum. This happened when you roll back Remain in Mexico, when you strip away Title 42, when you incentivize people to come. And to your point, Rachel, it's a very good point about the number of deaths that are not counted in this. What about in the Darien Gap? That's this treacherous territory in Panama that migrants come through before they even make it to Mexico, and a lot of them perish in that jungle. So this number's far higher in 2021, about double what it was the year prior. That's because of a guy named Joe Biden, who is now the president.
Can I just say one other thing? Commander-in-Chief is one of his titles as well, and the Border Patrol agents are going through misery and hell as well, and a lot of them are dying as well as a result of not getting the support they need.
I would just quickly say those numbers were before we got to this point. So what are we on track for 2022?
Right. Because the last glimmer of hope was the Remain in Mexico policy, which now, given the decision coming out of the Supreme Court, means it will be just another surge. I don't see an end. To me, it feels hopeless. And that's why these states are taking it upon themselves to declare an invasion, saying we have nothing else left to do. It is up to us because the federal government is totally failing.
Subscribe to the Fox News YouTube channel to catch our nightly opens, stories that are changing the world and changing your life. From Tucker Carlson tonight.